Uh-oh, they caught me. Yeah, they caught me sitting here, fully clothed, speaking complete sentences, while also having feet. Yeah, apparently that is totally unacceptable. Even a scandal. It's like I'm selling drugs out the rehab door. Judging by some of the comments under my last video, that was enough to short-circuit the message for a few of you. But before we get into today's video, make sure to like and subscribe if you want more honest conversations like this. And if you get value from these videos and from this channel, please consider supporting the show with a small donation on Patreon. Also, if this topic hits something really new, I want you to go in the description below and download the Kink Shame Exit Kit. Alright, let's begin! Some of these comments were almost too perfect not to address. Here we go. Imagine thinking she's helping you while her feet are in focus. Yeah, imagine being helped and exposed at the same time. Great video, but your beautiful feet are kind of a distraction. I'm having trouble focusing on the video. Then your attention needs training. What can I say? I focused on your toes for the entire duration of the video. Alright, thanks for the feedback, but that feedback is not about me. That is a confession about your current level of control. Aren't you arousing people with foot fetishes by showing your feet? No, visible feet are not the same thing as an erotic performance. So you're explaining this with your feet up? Yeah, I do, because feet exist in real life too. Okay, well, that is the entire point. If a woman speaking calmly with her feet visible is enough to make you lose the plot, then what is being exposed here is not my behavior, okay? It's your lack of control over yourself. That is the conversation. It's not my feet. Not the camera angle I choose for my videos, and definitely not the idea that women should make themselves smaller, hide more, or be less physically present so men never have to face what runs them. No. You know, the issue here is a lot simpler than that. Some of you, not all, but some of you are still ruled by what you see. And instead of letting that humble you, you try to place the burden outside of yourself. That move, that's actually what's gonna keep you stuck. But before I start dissecting into these patterns, I just want to give a shout out to the other guys in the comments. You know, the real ones, the ones who are actually listening while they're still enjoying the visuals, the ones who watched until the end and commented truth and took away something useful, the ones who shared the truth, who opened up about their story, added real value, and helped others feel seen. The ones who take the time to write long comments and explain things, to offer insight and contribute something meaningful to the conversation. You guys are living proof that it is actually absolutely possible to appreciate beauty, stay present, and still receive something that can genuinely help you grow in self-mastery. So I just want to shout you out, guys. I see you and I appreciate you. Okay, now back to the topic. The problem is not that feet are visible. The problem is that some of you still collapse around them. Alright, let's stop dressing this up. If my feet in the frame wipe out your ability to listen, to stay present, and absorb a message, that's not some freaking curse, okay? And it's not fate. It's not proof that women are too powerful, that I'm doing something sneaky here, or that I'm a succubus. What it means is just that your attention is not as strong, okay? It's a little weak. And a lot of men do not like hearing that because, I know, it sounds blunt, but you know what? That's good because some truths need to land that way. They need to land cleanly because some people have built a whole identity around being overpowered by what they desire. They talk about it like helplessness is part of the kink, or like having no control over your mind gives the experience more meaning. Well, I don't think it does. It just means you have practiced the wrong pattern for way too long. What you did basically, you just practiced that fixation, you rehearsed it, you fed it. You even normalized it until you started calling it your personality, until it's part of yourself. Now, as always, I don't believe that the problem is that you have a foot fetish. The problem is what happens when your mind has no structure around this fetish. This is when your attention breaks apart, when you start staring uncontrollably, when you just can't listen, you can't focus, and then you project. And when a normal situation starts feeling unbearable, and then what happens? You blame the woman, you blame the image, the setting, the existence of feet in just ordinary life. Honestly, I think some of you will blame anything, really, but not the one place where the work actually belongs. Can you guess where that is? Inside of you. Women are not responsible for editing themselves to protect you from your own mind. This part is something extremely important, and even though it may sting, you definitely need to understand it. Because underneath a lot of these reactions is actually a childish expectation. It's something like this: if I can't regulate myself around it, then it shouldn't be there. Well, see, no, that's not maturity. And you're not calling out anyone. That is avoidance wearing a smarter outfit. Guys, feet are part of a normal life. It's actually interesting that I have to say this. You know, summer exists, which means you'll see women in sandals. You'll see women and feet in flip-flops. There are pools, there are beaches, and cozy living rooms. You're going to see a barefoot woman sitting in a chair, or a woman walking down the street in flip-flops, or even just a woman existing comfortably in her own body. So what exactly is the long-term strategy here? Do you really want women to cover up a normal body part because some men cannot hear a sentence without mentally drifting away in fantasy land? Do you expect the world redesigned around your lack of discipline? Do you want reality filtered down into something so sterile that you never have to confront your own conditioning? That is not helping you. Real growth asks something else of you: to become the kind of man who can move through ordinary life without turning every visible trigger into a personal emergency. That is the actual assignment. Not to erase the world, but to strengthen yourself. And yeah, this is one of the main reasons I'm making these videos in this exact format in the first place. Because many of you are not suffering from your fetish. Your fetish is not a disease. I also saw these comments, people calling their fetish a condition. No, you are not suffering from your fetish. You are suffering from the absence of self-control around it. A fetish doesn't make you look weird. The way you carry it can. A lot of men still get this confused. Loving feet doesn't make you weird, creepy, or a problem. There's a lot of men that I know who do love feet, and they're just normal men who love feet. What changes the whole atmosphere, though, is behavior. And this is where we need to draw the line. A grounded man can have a very strong fetish and still feel normal to be around. He notices things, yeah, he feels attraction, yet he remains aware of himself. He stays respectful. He does not let his body language get sloppy. He doesn't act entitled and doesn't make women for his inner chaos. That reads as safe. Then another man notices the same thing and turns into a mess. His eyes linger. His mind spins. He stops hearing what the woman is saying. His energy becomes hungry. He starts treating her visible body as if it's doing something to him. He gets into the loop. And then he resents her for the state he is in. See, that reads as weird. And let me say this again, clearly. That is not because he likes feet, okay? But because this guy has no container. And women can feel the difference between the two instantly. Yeah, people like this is a curse, something so mysterious, right? Like a social curse. Like men with foot fetishes are just weird. No. Men are seen as weird when they act strange, invasive, scattered, thirsty, resentful, and socially off. That is not the fetish doing it. That is the lack of maturity around it. So understand that distinction, because it means the situation is actually not hopeless. It is trainable, and you can become a different man in the presence of the same trigger. Visible feet are not the same thing as teasing. All right, let's put another one to rest. I'm not trying to arouse anyone just because my feet happen to be visible in these videos. I actually have a lot of content when I am trying to arouse men. But this is not it. There is a massive difference between a woman sitting and talking with her feet in a frame and a woman making direct arousal content. Those two things are not even close to be the same. If you know visual language, body language, pacing, and intention, the difference is obvious. Teasing content has a different dynamic, has a different focus, a different energy. It is built to pull attention towards arousal. But that's not what I'm doing here. I used to do it in other places, but not here. Obviously, I am just sitting. I am speaking, I'm making a point, and I am barely moving. I'm just moving my hands and my mouth. The other day, actually, somebody asked why my feet never move in my videos on YouTube. And I told him exactly that. Okay? So if somebody experiences that as an irresistible bait, what that reveals is not my disingenuous intention. It reveals the filter they are watching through. And this is where some people get really uncomfortable, because it is much easier to say, yeah, she made me feel this, than to admit I'm still easily run by what I see. I know that's gonna hit hard. It's gonna hit your ego. And you know what? That's good, because this is an important lesson if you are real about breaking the patterns and become more confident. The ego should not be the one driving. You need honesty more than you need comfort. This channel is not here to protect your comfort and avoidance. It is here to challenge it. It seems like some people are still confused about what I'm doing here on this channel. So I'm gonna try to be very direct. I'm not here to create a little fantasy world where nobody ever encounters the trigger and therefore nobody has to grow. I'm here to talk about the exact place where your freedom breaks down. The split between what you want and how you behave. The shame that builds when your desire starts ruling you. The compulsive loop that keeps draining your energy. The way fantasy can quietly replace presence, courage, and real development. That is what I care about here on this channel. Because the issue for many men is what happens after desire enters the room. Do you become smaller? Do you become sloppy, passive, entitled? Do you become distracted and then blame the distraction? See, this is where your life starts getting shaped. Those comments in the beginning did not disprove my message. They actually confirmed it. Some of you are watching a conversation about control while publicly demonstrating the exact lack of control that is hurting you. So that is why I'm not going to soften this. You do not become stronger by demanding easier conditions. You do not build discipline by avoiding every test of it. You do not reclaim your mind by making women responsible for it or shaming them for being attractive. You can only build power by practicing it, which means if you see the trigger and you feel the pull, you remain in charge. If this video is landing for you, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and consider supporting the show with a small donation on Patreon. That support helps me making long format videos like this public here on YouTube. And if you are tired of living in shame, download the Kink Shame Exit Kit. Don't just agree with these words. Start applying them. So download it at the link below. Some of you are not angry at my feet. You are angry at what this exposes. All right, we're getting deeper. The intensity of these reactions tells me it's not really about me sitting here with my feet visible. It's about what that reveals in you. It exposes you. It exposes that maybe what hit a nerve is realizing your attention still doesn't belong to you. Maybe what bothers you is hearing a woman calmly describe the problem you continue to avoid. Maybe what gets under your skin is that I am not agreeing to be reduced to your trigger. Maybe what stings is the gap between how in control you imagine yourself to be and how quickly that image falls apart under something so ordinary. I know, guys, that can be a hard thing to face. It's true. Because once the excuse breaks, you are left with the real you. And seeing you for who you really are is something hard and even painful sometimes. And many people don't know what to do in that moment. So they get defensive, they get sarcastic, they get petty and dismissive. They get louder than necessary. And listen, that doesn't place them above the conversation because they are affected by it. And resistance many times sounds cocky before it can be honest. This is my channel. I decide the frame. I'm going to make this boundary very clear. This is my channel. And that means I decide how I sit. I decide how I speak. I decide how I frame my videos. I decide what conversations happen here and how. I'm not going to arrange myself around the fragility of men on the internet who are strangers. I'm not going to become less visible because someone else has not learned how to handle normal visibility. And I'm definitely not going to apologize for speaking intelligently from inside a female body that happens to be attractive. That is just absurd. Nobody's forcing you to watch me. Nobody is trapped here. And I remind you, you always have a choice, even when you don't think you have one. To stay in automatic patterns is in fact a choice. And you know what? If you don't like what you see, you're welcome to move on. If the mere presence of feet in frame ruins the message for you, then maybe you are not ready for the message. And honestly, I don't care what you do with my videos. You are free to do whatever you want to do. That is fine. But you don't need to announce it, publicly. But do not confuse your unreadiness with my wrongdoing. That's not the same thing. Here is what progress actually looks like. All right, so I criticize enough. I need to move from critique to action now because I'm not just interested in winning an argument, although I know I'm right. But I'm interested more in, whether you can actually become different. So I want to give you an intelligent move. 1. Catch the pull early, not after you have already spiraled. Not after your focus is gone. At the first moment your attention locks in too hard. That first second matters. 2. Stop talking about yourself like you are powerless. You are not some helpless leaf in the wind because you saw a woman's foot. You felt activation. That is all. When you feel it in your body, name it. Like, okay, I feel activated. And stay mature like an adult. And move on. Then 3, bring your attention back on purpose. When you feel you get distracted, come back to the words. Come back to the meaning. Come back to the person speaking. Your attention is not random. It has been trained in a certain way, and now you can retrain it. Then 4, act normal in public, in real life or online. A visible foot is not an event. It's not a signal, permission, and it's not an invitation to stare, okay, or to be rude. You can control your eyes, control your energy, control and choose the version of you that shows up. 5. Build tolerance instead of demanding protection. You do not grow through perfect conditions. Nobody does. However, you do grow by staying composed in ordinary conditions. Ordinary conditions, ordinary life includes women having visible feet. 6. Work on the root, not just the symptom. Because for many of you, this is not just about feet. It's loneliness, it's shame, it is a fantasy dependence, it is secrecy and porn conditioning. It's low confidence, it's fear around women, it's a weak relationship with your own desire. This is why the reaction gets so intense. The trigger is touching more than just one thing. So if you actually want freedom, you need to start looking at things deeper than just at the surface. And I want to clear this out. I'm here to make you just less ruled by these urges. That is the distinction that I want to make. Desire is not something bad. And I don't think that attraction is evil or that loving feet is bad. My husband loves feet. I have friends that have a foot fetish. But without self-respect and direction, desire turns into leakage. It starts deciding for you. It drags your focus around, it shapes your reactions, and it lowers your dignity, even if you don't feel like it. It trains your passivity. Then you wake up one day wondering why you feel so weak in situations that should feel just normal. That is what I want to interrupt. That is what I'm doing here. I really want men to become stronger inside their own desire, to be able to own it in a more grounded way. I want them to be honest and self-aware, more composed, more capable of being present without collapsing into compulsion. That is extremely powerful, and it goes way beyond sex, because the way you handle desire says a lot about the way you handle life. So I'm going to ask you this. Actually, you should start asking yourself, can you pause? Can you direct yourself? Can you feel intensity without becoming owned by it? Can you stay respectful under internal pressure? Can you hold your energy instead of spilling it everywhere? That is character. And finally, the last truth. Women do not owe you invisibility because you have not built that discipline. The world does not owe you a trigger-free life because you avoid inner work. And I do not owe you a smaller version of myself so you can remain comfortable inside your own weakness. My feet are going to stay here. Summer is still coming. Sandals are still a thing, and also flip-flops. Women are still going to exist in beautiful feminine bodies. So the mature question is not how do I remove her feet from what I see. The real question is, who do I need to become so this no longer runs me? That is the question that changes lives. Because your trigger is not always your enemy. Sometimes it is the mirror showing you the exact place you still need some leadership. If you made it to this point, I am actually very proud of you. And now, listen, if you feel irritated, just sit with that, okay? If I hit a nerve, start paying attention to that feeling. If it exposed something uncomfortable, that is actually good because that discomfort may actually be the first honest thing you have felt about this in a long time. Being uncomfortable is not bad. You want to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Now, if this video spoke to you, please hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you get any value from these conversations, please consider supporting the show with a small donation on Patreon. And if you are done with handing your power away to the same pattern over and over and over again, do download the Kink Shame Exit Kit at the link below. I'll see you in the next one.